All right. Guess I'm starting this. So, just last night, I finished a little story called Homestuck. And I love it. I can tell it's going to be one of those things that is literally just sticking with me for maybe the rest of my life. It is what it is. But I know that Homestuck, the original comic, is not all that there is. In fact, I know that there are various spin-offs, sequels, stuff like that. For example, I know there are some sort of like semi-canon AU comics called Paradox Space. There was some kind of ARG thing called Skynet Systems, I believe, and a few other things like that. I'm not particularly interested in those. I may check them out at some point, but the main things that I am interested in after finishing the main comic are the Homestuck Epilogues and Homestuck Beyond Canon, which are kind of the epilogues are the like official ending epilogue continuation, I guess, and then Beyond Canon is like the current official iteration of Homestuck. I'm recording this because I'm just going to record myself going through the epilogues and going through Beyond Canon. I don't know if I'll enjoy it or not, because apparently people have very mixed feelings. Like, it seems like some people love these things, some people hate them, and I don't know why. But I'm recording this because I have some friends who also like Homestuck, and then I just figured they would enjoy seeing what I think. So I don't even really know if I'm going to upload this or not. I might. I might, do this the whole time and upload it and whatever. But I don't know if it's going to be public yet. For no other reason than I just didn't really feel like making this into a whole thing. If I was specifically recording it to be uploaded, I would probably be, I don't know, doing voices and kind of going all in. But I'm prefacing, if this does happen to be public, it's just me kind of hanging out and reading it. But I don't know if it even is going to be. So if you're one of my friends watching this and hearing all of this, that's why I'm explaining this beforehand, because this may go public, but I don't know. But the point is, these things are really contentious, it seems. And the thing is, I have never had any of the context for why they're contentious. I have obviously never actually read any posts about it because, I assumed it would be spoiling me. And because of that, I really have no idea what I'm getting into. I know that the uplogs are mainly in like prose, I'm pretty sure, because they are like formatted kind of to emulate a fanfic from AO3, which is fun. I like that. But that's all I really know about them. I know that, and I know that it is the beginning of what is called the post-canon content for Homestuck. That's probably the thing that I'm most interested in, is to figure out if there's actually a concrete reason why it's called that. Because from what I can tell, and obviously I guess I could be proven wrong here, But from what I can tell, this and Beyond Canon are still official, right? Like they're officially. I know that they're not entirely written by Hussey. I know that, especially now, it's an entirely different team working on it. But I know they are officially sanctioned by Hussey as official pieces of the Homestuck story. So with that being said, I feel like just very confused. Maybe I should just shut up and read it and figure it out. But just the fact that it is so consistently called post-canon makes me feel like it has to be something within the story itself. And the only thing I've seen from the epilogues are that first page where it says start, and then there's meat and candy. And I've heard that phrase before, and I don't know what it means. The only thing that I can really assume, and here I'm gonna get into a little prediction here, right? So I know that it's formatted to look like fanfic. I know that there are, I don't know if they're routes or if they're just different perspectives or what, but meat and candy. I know it's called post-canon, and I know it's controversial. So here's kind of my initial prediction for what might be going on here, is that the meta elements of Homestuck were always very in the forefront, and especially towards the end. And one of the things that kept popping up, well, there are a few things. There was Caliborn and the narrative prompt. The fact that the very narrative on the website is a thing that can be tampered with and written from within the universe. And then there's also the fact that there is something called an alpha timeline, but there are also other basically infinite offshoot timelines. And because of that, the concept of canon is kind of, I don't know if I would call it pointless, but it's very different in Homestuck than it is in most other franchises, because in most cases, canon is, the stuff that's in the story. And there's a very clear distinction between canon and non-canon stuff. Most of the time, you think about something like Star Wars, right? If a movie or a show officially comes out for Star Wars, that's canon. It is what it is, right? If you're playing a game or reading a comic or some novel or something, it's probably not canon. It's probably just extraneous reading material. And that's how most things are. But because Homestuck has been set up in this way that specifically toys with the idea of narrative flow, and the fact that stories are things that are kind of arbitrarily decided to matter, makes me feel like the entire point of this new story is going to be maybe kind of a deconstruction of that idea. The fact that there can be multiple versions of a story that play out significantly differently, and really the only thing that makes that story quote unquote canon or real, or whatever word you want to use, the only thing that makes it matter is the fact that you care about it and the fact that it's written well. There's no actual canon is not a real thing. It is an arbitrarily decided concept that is this barrier that is placed on a body of work, and anything outside of that arbitrary barrier is like kind of quote unquote like not as important, or like not really a thing that happened. But like I said, Homestuck kind of throws that out the window because anything could kind of happen, because characters can literally change the story, and there are literally infinite variations of the universe in existence in the story. So it kind of brings that entire idea into question. I find that very interesting. I find analyzing that really interesting. And so if that's what this is, then I will probably actually enjoy it. Even if I don't enjoy some of the content, I just, the idea of that is extremely fascinating to me. So we'll see. Maybe it's not that, I could be entirely wrong. But all of the signs are pointing to something like that. Now, I don't know. I'm gonna try to take it kind of as much in a neutral way as possible. Like, I'm gonna try to not let those preconceived notions taint my view of this thing. I feel like that would be really easy to do in either direction. I could like it out of spite, or I could hate it just because, like, oh well, obviously everybody agrees this is bad, so it's bad. That would be really easy to do with something this contentious, but I'm just gonna try to kind of take it for what it is, see if I enjoy it, see if I find it interesting or, compelling, and, we'll go from there. I've also gotten the vibe. Like I said, I know no spoilers. I know nothing about the story. I know literally zero things that happen in the epilogues or beyond canon, but I get the vibe that the epilogues are not as comedy focused, maybe. So I don't know. I hope it's still funny, but if not, I hope it's interesting enough to make up for the lack of comedy. And I guess that's all I really have to say about it. I've been sitting here for long enough yapping about a thing that I haven't even read yet. But I just feel like when it's something like this, that prologue is kind of important for knowing the context in which I go into this with. See, even right here, right under it says "Tales of Dubious Authenticity," and I don't know what that means. I don't know how to even take that. So here we go. I guess I don't know how this. I don't know if I'm gonna probably not gonna voice the characters, but I'll at least probably read everything out loud. I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I'm not trying to make this a super put together video for YouTube, so I'm not really all that concerned with the presentation of it, but we'll see. So Homestuck Epilogues. Let's see. Let's see what's here. We have start. We have prologue. Meat and candy. So start prologue. Okay, that's just one button, I think. Yeah, got it. Okay. So the Homestuck Epilogues. I feel like I should probably zoom this in so it's easier to see on the screen. Right. 200, 175. 175 looks fine. All right, the Homestuck Epilogues by Andrew Hussey, of course. CFID variable CT set. Okay. Contributions by Lalo Hunt, Aisha Yufara. Rating mature. Barack Obama. Oh, Dave Bettiswright is back. That's cool. Original male characters, original female characters. What does that mean? Rania? Bro, didn't you die? Content warning, graphic depictions of what? Oh my god, what is happening? Violence, major character death, rape, the economy, xenophobia, pregnancy, alternative universe, mind control, non-con breastfeeding, misogyny, sexual transphobia, misgendering, not canon compliant, canon divergent, redemption, dubious consent, break, world war, political intrigue, robots, child abuse, neglect, alcohol use, death, incestuous undertone. Oh my god, I don't know. Polyamory. Cloud dynamics, meta abuse, fridging. What is that? What does that mean? Genocide, diapers, murder, honk. Thank you. I am sensitive. I'm sensitive to that one. Children, gender transition, depression, toxic masculinity, sexual abuse, friends or lovers, speciesism, babies, manipulation, gore, infidelity, marriage, non-binary characters. This is a content warning for the warning. NBs. Milking, identity, but lots of milk in these content warning. Lots of is Equius? Is Equius in there? Is Equius in this? Airden, Fern, Mina. Equius isn't in this character list, but sure is a lot of milk involved. Feet, political rebellion, fascism, rapping, strikes, funerals, religion, eating food, aliens, possession, life, 87 left, furry, anthropomorphic characters, power imbalances, blood, trickster mode, body horror, gerrymandering, starvation, cuckolding, interspecies relationships, guns, sport, assassination, alien biology, detransitioning, what? Chronic illness, vomit, drugging, cannibalism, unhealthy relationships, capitalism, oof, probably the worst one yet. Eggs, slut shaming, black romance, kidnapping, fago, bimbofication, poisoning, teenagers, domestic abuse, reality television, object positioning. I don't know what that is. Should I even look this up? Should I? Laying eggs. Okay. Ghosts, revolutionary rhetoric, self-sacrifice, propaganda, super. I need to look so much of this stuff up. What is it? Say a super pad. What is that? Okay, I see. Pika, early 20th century, dance movements, prison camps, existential crisis, xenophilia, daddy issues, bad parenting, addiction, clown. I feel like that kind of goes with the honk. That's a bit redundant. Language is English. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that was a lot. Is this just like grim dark Homestuck? Is that what this is? I mean, if we're gonna be honest, I feel like most of this comes up in the actual comic itself. It's just not treated as such sometimes, right? Like, most of this kind of happens. So, you know, we'll see. But just seeing it all laid out like this, oh wow, yeah, there is a lot of crazy stuff in this story, huh? Summary. Oh god, what am I possibly getting into? 10 years after their adventure began, the heroes are enjoying a well-earned retirement on Earthsea, but John still has one last choice to make. So, 10 years, so this is 2019, which is when it was posted, I believe, which means John would be 23, which is crazy to think about. Okay, so yeah, there's meat and candy, and I guess they're two entirely different stories, or maybe I know that in the actual text itself, like in the OG comic, meat and candy were extremely associated with the cherubs, Calliope and Caliborn, and I feel like candy makes me think of like trickster mode. That was kind of the entire trickster mode thing, was a bunch of like lollipops and candy and stuff. Meat, I don't know. I don't feel like there were as many references to meat in the OG comic, so I don't really know what to expect from that. But from this, I mean, it says trickster mode up here, and this says candy, and I can only assume that there's going to be some trickery afoot. But I guess first we'll go Prologue. Prologue. Oh man, this really is just straight up prose. Okay, let's get ready to read, I guess. Prologue 1. It starts with a crack. Everything else rises up from that like steam. A trembling thread that cuts through space in jagged lines, splintering the void into razor-sharp shards of putrefying leptons and quarks popping apart like raw eggs in a microwave. It's coming undone at a subatomic level from the bottom up, from the inside out. From the top down, it looks like the eye of a storm. A black hole so supermassive that it spans the width of eternity. It turns infinity into something as thin and fragile as cellophane. Shreds of its dimensions, a piece of paper pinched together at either end, a hole poked through it. This is making me think of the black hole that Callie caused at the end of the story. At the center of that hole, the edges can be heard fraying. Pandemonium, as continuity buckles in the middle, and the two ends come smashing together. Around the hole, ghosts scream. Okay, it's definitely talking about that. They claw at the dying borders of their dreams with fingernail chipping desperation. They whip together like the wind, trailing the mutilated streaks of their hypothetical futures with them. It's a multifractal neon cyclone of primordial conclusion, a churning blender of hyperfinal, catastrophically terminal, overwhelmingly permanent double death. The screaming distorts and plunges low as it gets closer to the cavity. At the center, that distortion turns into an eerie music. That's where the cacophony ends. The shattering, the screaming, the squelching, the sounds of elemental particles being torn apart like string cheese shoved through a meat grinder, then dumped down a strangely melodious garbage disposal. It all returns to the same tonic dominant, matching pitch and tone, ironing out the rebellious flats and sharps until the discordance becomes exquisite. A subharmonic symphony that can only be heard in the bones. At the dead center of the event, it is extremely quiet, a silence made of all the suffering that limitless sempiternity can hold, bleeding together until the prism turns to obsidian. It's too vast to comprehend, too black to behold without closing your eyes. Retreating to the back of your own eyelids is to seek the comfort of familiar darkness. It is to reject an absolute tenebrosity so perfectly alien it threatens to rip the humanity right out of your eye sockets. This is the end of everything. This is the end of paradox space. You wake up. Okay. It almost there are like certain moments in Homestuck where Hussey kind of breaks from the regular narratorial style and kind of goes for a more, I don't know, literary, elegant style of prose. And it feels like maybe this was an excuse to just go full out with that. Anyway, you wake up. Your name's John Egbert, and you have just had a terrible, deeply pretentious nightmare. You snap out of bed, soaked in sweat, your heart hammering like a fire alarm. It is just as you feared. You've been dreaming in anime again. You have no idea what it could mean. Look outside just to make sure the world is not ending. The sun is coming through your windows in bars of soft yellow. The only sound you hear for miles is the wind skimming the hollows of your neighbor's pipe homes. It's a normal day in the Salamander Village, which you refer to as Salamander Village, because the damn salamanders never bothered to give this village a name, you guess. Absolutely nothing of note has ever happened here in the entire history of the planet, which you would know because you created it. Beside your pillow, your phone is vibrating. Rose is calling. The screen of your phone reads 9:30 a.m. April 13th, and also the number 46, which is how many text messages your friend left while you were sleeping. Bit excessive, even for her. I haven't read or like spoken this much in a very long time. This is like making my throat dry. So John is dreaming about the stuff that's happening outside of their created universe, because we know that this stuff is what was happening because of Alt Callie. John is seeing that in his dreams. Answer the phone. Okay, so we still get like pester log. That's very interesting. Pester logs like mixed in between the regular prose. I like that because I just feel like this is kind of the perfect way to represent, like, I don't know. These characters have been created and developed through these pester logs. And so I feel like it would feel so wrong to just not see them in that format with these colors and stuff. Anyway, since when are you known to operate your telephone? Since, I don't know, has it really been that long since I called? I can't remember the last time. Neither can I. Anyway, what's up? First of all, happy birthday. Oh, yeah, thanks. Fuck, I forgot. Am I correct in presuming this April 13th will be as uneventful as the last? Yeah, I don't want to do anything this year. I hope that's okay. Of course it's okay. It's your birthday after all. Rose? Yes? You wander to the window and watch the salamanders go about their day. All over the neighborhood, the little dad salamanders are putting on their little rumpled hats and picking up their little suitcases and kissing their little families goodbye for the day. You've always been confused about what exactly they contribute to the global economy, but it's pretty cute how much they love playing at being suburban businessmen. The silence over the phone is growing awkward. You've stalled long enough. You decide to just come out and say it. I've been dreaming in anime again lately. I have no idea what it could mean. I see. It's horrible every time. And I don't mean because anime is bad or anything. It's not that. Whenever I have these dreams, everything's breaking apart. Millions of people are screaming and dying. I mean, dying permanently. Not the kind of bullshit dying that we've been doing a lot over the years. A couple yards over, a salamander blows an astounding spit bubble. Truly, one for the books. Your eyes trace its meandering journey into the sky as you gather your thoughts. What do you think it all means? What do I think what means? What do you think it means that I've been dreaming in anime? I don't have the slightest idea what it means that you've been dreaming in anime, John. To be honest, You wait for Rose to finish her thought. She doesn't, which is troubling because you have never known Rose to leave a thought unfinished in over 10 years of acquaintance. I suppose it's possible it may have happened one of the times she died. You wouldn't bet on it, though. Rose, are you okay? Not exactly. What's wrong? I think my condition's been getting worse lately. Condition? That's why my message probably sounded urgent. You left 46 messages. Yes, they were all urgent. Oh. I don't think I can wait much longer before telling you. I held out for as long as I could. Figured your birthday was a good time as any to let you know. Let me know what? It's crept up on me. These last couple years. Gradually enough to ignore as it was happening, but I can't anymore. Lately, the visions have been overwhelming. Visions? John, I have terrible headaches these days. Talking on the phone doesn't help at all. Would you mind flying to my apartment so we can continue this in person? Oh, yeah, you mean now? Yes, now is the time. Put it off long enough. You move the phone away from your ear and assume an expression you haven't practiced in years. It is the look of a man who actually has something to do. Holding the phone directly in front of your face, you speak into the receiver. Okay, I'm on my way. Bye, Rose. As you hang up the phone, a familiar feeling settles over you. A feeling of standing and being alone in your bedroom as a young man on your birthday. You swear you've felt like this before. It's almost like a young man stands alone in his bedroom. It just so happens that today is the 13th of April, is this young man's birthday. Though it was 23 years ago when he was given life, and 10 years ago when he was given a name, it feels like only today he will begin to understand what that means. That young man is you, John Egbert. What will you do? I like the callback here. It's fun. I wonder how many pages of this there are. I didn't actually look it up at all. 2. This is a big one. When you arrive at Rose's apartment, you find her asleep on the couch. You slide the balcony door open quietly. Rose? Her eyes flutter open. She looks like a ghost, and not the kind of ghost that looks and acts exactly like an alive person. How long have I been sleeping? I don't know, I just got here. Are you okay? I'll be fine. That looks like a lot of pills you're taking there. Yeah, it's not what you're thinking, though. What am I thinking? These are controlled substances that have been prescribed by a legitimate doctor to ease the symptoms of my condition. I am using them only as instructed. Okay, so there's nothing to worry about. But you said you have a condition, isn't that bad? You watch her rise in stages. Her arm is trembling where she's bracing it on the couch. Oh, yes, the condition itself is not ideal, obviously, and perhaps it does constitute something to worry about in the context of a different conversation. All I'm trying to say is I'm not backsliding, that's what you're wondering. You spend several pregnant moments saying nothing at all in response to this. You examine Rose's supine, languid form on the couch, optimistic that she will continue speaking any moment now. I struggled with substance abuse for a while. Years ago, remember? Rose, Jesus, I wasn't going to accuse you of being a drug addict. I didn't fly over here to give you an intervention. It sounded like you had some important stuff to tell me, and the fact that you also seem to be sick is more than a little alarming. I wouldn't say I'm sick, just having spectacularly debilitating headaches as a result of my visions becoming more frequent. Oh yeah, what are these visions you're having? I'm a seer of light, John. I know. seeming like your standard psychic visions about the future and stuff. What's gonna happen? Should we be worried? It doesn't technically pertain to the future. Well, not our future. My abilities have broadened considerably beyond their previous horizon. They shed light on many unseen events, past, present, future, and realities and frames of reference that have no intersection with ours at all. It seems to be an unfortunate side effect of God tier abilities. They can advance at a rate beyond one's physical ability to keep up with. Fortunately, it doesn't seem to be happening to anyone other than me. Yeah, can't say I've noticed anything like that. Or improvement in my powers, for that matter. It's not about gaining additional power so much as the gradual dissolving of the boundaries between you and your awareness and that of your many doomed selves who perished in other timelines. It's a slow and apparently rather uncomfortable creation of knowledge. Perhaps I'm the only one to notice any change since my aspect explicitly relates to knowledge. I guess that all makes sense. So, what are these visions showing you? Many things. They're quite disjointed and sometimes hard to rearrange into coherence. But in totality, I've pieced together a greater understanding of our present situation and all the events that led us here. You watch Rose stagger to her feet and cross the apartment. At the kitchenette, she knocks back another pill with a practiced motion, no water. Her vacant stare drills into the countertop as she quietly waits for the medication to take effect. And what? What is it about our situation that you wanted to tell me? Is it bad? Good and bad are words that don't mean anything beyond a certain threshold of mortal consideration. There's a different scale I've come to understand. Another dichotomy that's less emotional, I guess. Consider, instead of the word good, using the word essential. And what exists at the complete opposite polarity from essential is something that is best not to contemplate. What are you talking about? That sounds fucked up. Yes, that sounds like a reaction you would definitely have to the things I'm telling you. I should really cut it out and just start from the beginning. You follow Rose to the balcony. She raises a hand and points directly into the clear blue sky. She points with purpose, as if to say, there, right there, precisely. It's where the green sun would be if it still existed. The green sun is gone. What? It has been destroyed, at least from the current frame of reference it has. It still existed, and therefore, in a way that's hard to explain, currently exists over a nearly infinite span of time, presiding over the birth and death of countless universes. But this universe, our universe, is not one of them. You saw this in a vision. No, Jade told me. She did? How does she know? She can't draw from its power anymore. She no longer has the ability of a first guardian. It's been this way for several years. I suspect she's kept this fact on the down low, however. That's surprising, I guess? Or maybe not. I don't know, it's not like she tells me a whole lot these days. It's also not like she's had any particular need to unleash the full fury of the green sun, not while she's been gallivanting around with Dave and Karkat under whatever perplexing social arrangement they have settled on. Anyway, her account of the sun's destruction syncs up with the data supplied by my visions. I have no doubt it's gone. How did that happen? Doesn't matter much for our purposes. There was a cataclysmic event, a suicide strike by a very powerful being, much like the one Dave and I attempted once upon a time. But it turned out the explosive force we released was only a catalyst, a causal gesture. What was needed to destroy the sun was a consumptive assault. Consumptive? The entire sun was swallowed by a supermassive black hole. I digress, though. This is interesting. Jade, Dave, and Karkat in a perplexing social arrangement, whatever that means. Are they in like a polycule? That would be fascinating. Okay. I mean, I'm not even gonna say it wouldn't make sense, because it kind of would. You press your eyes shut just for a moment. Behind them, you see a black hole so supermassive that it spans the width of eternity. You quickly open your eyes again and pretend to forget what you just saw. There's really no route through this expository garden path that will adequately cushion you from the bottom line, John. You will need to travel back into canon and defeat Lord English. Back into canon? Oh, okay, so canon is literally like the old universe then. Like A1, A2, B1, B2, like that is like literally that set of universes is quote unquote the canon. And since they've escaped that universe into this new universe, they've escaped the canon. Oh man. See, okay, this is exactly what I was talking about. It's already bringing up like literally just a tiny little line, and I'm already like thinking about this a lot. I'm just gonna keep reading. We'll see if they elaborate on that. You shrug and try to look casual. You pull off the most casual shrug that a guy's ever shrugged when being presented with the inevitability of his own fate. If Rose were looking at you right now, she would be totally convinced you're approaching this topic with a level of nonchalance that is entirely plausible and genuine. You're sure of it. Yeah, I had a feeling that was going to come up again someday. I'm sure we all did. That is, even those of us without visions. I was doing my best not to think about it. I guess we can't put it off any longer then. Now is the time. We are rapidly approaching a point of no return. If the decision isn't made soon, it will be too late. The issue will no longer matter. When exactly is the point of no return? Today. Well, okay then. First, one question. Why? Why what? Why do I need to go back and beat him? I mean, sorry if this is a stupid question. I guess he's a huge alpha monster, and that's just what you're supposed to do with huge alpha monsters. Take them down for their crimes and such. But why does he actually need to be defeated at all? To be honest, it's been years since we've even bothered thinking about any of this, and everything seems... Take a look around and survey the current status of all life on Earth, which is totally possible due to the vantage point of a single apartment balcony. Which is totally possible to do from the vantage point of a single apartment balcony. Fine? Of course everything is fine here. We're outside of canon now. Yeah, I know. What does that actually mean, though? Are you saying this isn't really happening? Of course it's happening. Just because certain events take place outside of canon, it doesn't mean those events are non-canon. Oh. In other words, there is an important distinction between events which can be considered to occur inside canon, outside canon, and those which are not canon at all. The day we went through that door and claimed our reward, we passed the threshold between continua marked by different degrees of relevance, truth, and essentiality. Those are the 3 pillars of canon. What? Rose shoots you an irritated look. You know what that look means. It's reserved for the sort of bozo who's just said what once too often. Any event said to take place inside canon will have a non-zero value of relevance and essentiality while maintaining an absolute foundation in truth by definition, whereas events outside canon have diminished values of relevance and essentiality, or, for the most part, can be considered neither relevant nor essential at all. But such events can't be said to be untrue either. Instead, it's better to regard their truth value as highly conditional. Are you still following? say, oh yeah, totally. Oh yeah, totally. So, to be clear, everything that's taken place here on Earth C since we existed, canon can be considered completely, since we exit. Everything that's taken place here on Earth C since we exited canon can be considered completely irrelevant, and for the most part, absolutely inessential. Yet, none of it can be called untrue. At least, up until precisely today. Okay, so then, what does non-canon mean? Events that are formally non-canon have no truth whatsoever, by definition. They may have relevance and essentiality values that are non-zero, or even quite high, but only as projections along an imaginary axis, resulting from the highly subjective frames of reference. But due to those events having no truth and thus carrying no real weight, the other properties are basically rendered meaningless. This is interesting. It's a little upfront. I expected a bit more, I don't know. I didn't expect Rose to just like have like tutorial text being like, here's the deal, but interesting nonetheless. Wow, okay. So this is already Homestuck. This is Homestuck, all right. Taking like a normal formal strategy that exists in basically every work of fiction ever, and not only, like, for lack of a better term, canonizing it in universe, but then also like using that canonization to analyze that thing in a more concrete way. Just, yeah, this is this is exactly what I would expect from this, honestly. That's I feel vindicated that I was right so far. But this specifically, like, events that are formally non-canon have no truth. They may have relevance and essentiality values, but no truth means no real weight, and other properties rendered meaningless. So that's essentially describing fanfic, right? Like, they're non-canon, they have no truth whatsoever to the actual story, but they may have relevance and essentiality in that they can actually, like, if written well, they can shed light on certain aspects of the characters or world that weren't delved into in the story proper, and that can actually be useful for like getting a kind of more meaningful reading of the text. But ultimately, once you actually revisit the text itself, they can't really carry weight within the story because they were just written by a third party. I mean, that's what it feels like it's describing. It's literally like fan fiction. Because there's this huge distinction between non-canon versus outside of canon. You can feel your eyes go wide as the gears in your head slow to a stop. The implications of what Rose is saying are vast, as they are completely incomprehensible. Your mind has just been blown. John, are you okay? Your pupils have gone quite wide, thereby facilitating the appearance that your mind has just been blown. Sorry, I'm just trying to wrap my head around all this. You, of all people, really should have a good intuitive grasp over these concepts already. You're the one with the retcon powers after all. I know, I like mostly get it, I think. I just wouldn't have thought to put it all in such a jargony way. Sorry, that's kind of what I do. It's fine, I'm just a bit rusty as all. Feels like it's been so long since I did or even thought about anything that mattered at all. Yes, the longer we live outside of canon, the more tenuous our relationship with canon becomes. Hence the urgency. And what's gonna happen if we keep dragging our feet? I mentioned that the events outside of canon have a truth value that tends to be conditional, remember? Well, I did. But let me put it another way. As long as we live outside canon, everything that happens will technically be real, but only conditionally. There are certain crucial events inside canon which must happen in order to continue to prop up the legitimacy of events here on Earthsea. And you, specifically, John, have a responsibility to make sure those events take place. And I take it that means going back and killing Lord English. Yes, his defeat is the keystone to this entire continuity. Much like his life, in some sick way, governed the overall design of the bridge which the keystone was holding up. But without it, all of this falls apart. Everything we've been through in a way that's impossible for a single mind to fully comprehend becomes retroactively discredited. So, reality will be destroyed or something? Hasn't that already sort of happened? I mean, when all the black space started cracking. No, this consequence isn't physical or even a disruption of this timeline. It's more of a conceptual unraveling. If you miss the chance to authenticate canon events, something will take place that's a bit difficult to describe. But I've encountered a term for it. It's called dissipation, like a notional fading, as if something somewhere is undergoing a process of forgetting. We are what is being forgotten. All ideas, people, and their full potentialities, possible outcomes, and their specific unfolding, all these things live inside conscious frameworks. The further removed we get from authentication of canon events, the less relevant they become, and they slowly fade from the conscious frameworks which kept them stable. Yeah, okay, so that's exactly what I was talking about in regards to, like, the fact that canon is, in a way, pretty arbitrary, right? But it's something that, honestly, kind of to my dismay, people are extremely concerned with what is and is not canon in everything, right? And one of the things that kind of makes people all giddy is when there will be something that maybe wasn't considered canon before, but then it gets a connection to the story, or you see something happen that happened in the actual thing or whatever, and it's like, oh, so that means this must be canon, that's how this connects to this, and whatever. And it seems like that's basically what this is saying, is like, oh, if we go back in there and we like do something that was relevant in the OG story, then like technically our lives now can be considered canon because we're interacting with the original story of the comic. Again, how do I put that? Let me finish this page before I say what I'm going to say. Make a theatrically startled expression. Okay, I guess I don't want that to happen, or unhappen, whatever. So I just retcon poof back to English and start like brawling with the dude. Don't be ridiculous, you wouldn't last a second. You'll need a team. Also, you don't want to just dive headlong into a battle with his hulking adult form. That would be tactically foolish, and furthermore would skip over some very important steps needed to authenticate canon. Like what? I mentioned that English's defeat was the keystone to the continuity, but this is no simplification. Yikes. Well, we sure as fuck wouldn't want to simplify anything. John, please don't be a bitch. I'm unwell, remember? Sorry. The true keystone, which is a necessary component of his defeat, is the juju. The house-shaped object you stuck your hand in to gain your retcon powers. Oh yeah, While empty, it resembles a gap, like a hole in canon, whose only purpose is to be filled. In serving that purpose, it grants one with the radical canon-altering powers that would be so needed, or that would be needed to fill it. Once filled, it becomes solid. No longer a gap, but a serviceable load-bearing wedge in our continuity, like a keystone. And once delivered to English and directed his way, it empties itself again, releasing its narrative-bridging payload. It functions as a weapon, and in some manner will bring about his demise. In some manner. It's a complicated artifact, as old and unfathomable as anything else in Paradox space, like the Green Sun or English himself. Don't worry about it for now. The important thing is that, in due course of your travels, you end up loading and unloading this weapon. How am I going to do that? Once you set things in motion, it should just happen naturally through the narrative momentum of your journey. I'm really just warning you about it, rather than instructing you. Okay, thanks? You're welcome. So that was actually... How... This is clearly referencing the thing that happens in the Act 7 animation where Vriska deploys the White House as the weapon to defeat Lord English, and I was saying how, like, I was confused on what was happening. Like, it didn't really make it very clear. This is clearly referencing that and saying, like, John's new quest is going to be basically completing that loop and making that happen so that the epilogues can be considered canon because they interacted with the story in that particular way. This feels essential. Maybe not to some people. Maybe some people were perfectly fine with the ending. But I was thinking how there felt like there were genuine gaps in that ending. It didn't feel like a conclusion. The way that I live blogged my experience, and in my final post for, like, when I finished, I said that it felt like a season finale, but not like a series finale, right? Like, it was big, it was, you know, exciting, it was a huge conclusion to so many different things, but, like, there were still plot points that were underdeveloped or unexplained, and so it didn't really feel like, yes, this is the end, we have all the answers, and we're like, it's good, it's the end. That's how I felt. So I'm perfectly happy to get more and kind of fill in those gaps. But I don't know, I guess some people are just totally cool with not doing that, which I don't think is wrong. I just don't feel that way. Rose looks at her phone. You recognize Kanaya's distinct typing style in the window. Rose's thumbs begin to fly across the keypad. She continues to text as she talks. So, if we're going to go back in time, or if we're going to go back and kill him in time to authenticate canon, I guess we have to get going soon, like today? Yes. Are you sure you're actually up for a fight, though? No offense, but you're looking a little worse for the wear. I'm not going. Oh, none of us are. Only you. What? But you said, John, this is the victory state. What the hell does that even mean? When we went through that door and passed beyond the threshold of canon, we effectively retired from bearing any responsibility for influencing canon events. We've all been sort of decommissioned as active players on the cosmic stage, with severely diminished relevance attributes. All of us except for you, of course, since you retained your retcon abilities. Okay, I get that, kind of, but couldn't you just all come along anyway? We could, but it wouldn't serve any purpose. It wouldn't plug up the remaining dark spots in canon. You'll still need a group of active players. Those still stuck inside the stream of canonic karma. Ooh, nothing too extravagant, just different versions of us. younger versions from a particularly dysfunctional impasse in our journey. I can point out the exact moment in canon you should be disrupting and how you should disrupt it. In fact, I've already written it down to spare you the trouble of remembering. So, it's interesting that she says all the rest of the characters besides John are no longer able to directly influence canon. The victory state, it's basically, like they had their ending and now, no more is allowed to be added on to the end of it. Rose leads you back inside and retrieves a letter from her desk. She hands it over, still typing one-handed on her phone. She sits down and you read the letter. Huh. Is anything confusing about my instructions? No, I remember all this. It shouldn't be a problem. It's just weird to think about revisiting this. It seems like an eternity. Like, we were all completely different people back then. I assure you, we are all still fundamentally the same bunch of losers. Rose is ultimately right about that, the way she is right about most things. You continue to scan the letter and grimace slightly. Should I really punch her in the face? I felt kind of bad about it last time I did that to someone. Yes, you absolutely should and must punch her in the face. You exhale, turn the paper over in your hands. The other side is blank. You flip it back over, having fully processed the instructions drafted in the polished purple handwriting. You like how Rose still writes in purple after all these years. Some things never change. Alright, this seems straightforward enough. I mean, aside from the part where we all have to fight an invincible monster. He isn't entirely invincible. He will be vulnerable to Dave's weapon. I believe other gambits should present themselves as well. I don't think it would serve the mission well for me to tell you exactly how it will go, but at least I can offer this bit of encouragement. If you follow my instructions, English will be defeated. It is an absolutely essential outcome. And essential, if you remember, is the word we should be using instead of good. I see you're advising we go after him when he's young. I guess that makes sense. Go get him before he gets all big and strong. Like, kind of a surprise attack. Sure. That dude sucked. He was taunting me a while back. Like, I think he wants me to come fight him. Anyway, I just ignored him, obviously, because I'm not a stupid idiot. But I guess today will be his lucky day. I'm wondering how this will make sense, seeing that Caliborn would become Lord English and then go back in time and be Lord English in the story. And if this actually works how they expect it to work, and John was to kill Caliborn when he's still young, how would the events of the story ever take place? Because then Lord English would never be able to go back in time and exist, right? I don't know. You take a seat next to Rose on the couch. Examine your friend. Her eyes are closed and her hands are folded in her lap. She's not asleep, but she looks wasted. Like all the life in her has been sucked out through a straw. Like she's insubstantial. When you were kids, you always thought that Rose Lalonde had all the answers, that she could fix any problem with a wall of text and witty rejoinder. You guess that much about her hasn't changed. She's still trying to solve the problems you all left behind. Can't believe how sick she looks. How did this happen to her? I should probably get going and let you rest. We can talk about all of it when I get back. Fill you in on how it went. Hopefully, you'll be feeling better by then. Oh, yeah. Is something wrong? Rose opens her eyes and looks at you, but she says nothing. Just looks. I'm not scared, if that's what you're worried about. You already said we're going to defeat him, so nothing to fret over, right? Yes, you... Something flickers through her eyes, almost too quick to catch. When she smiles at you, it's warm and sincere. You're going to do great. Rose slides her arms around you. After a while, she releases you from the embrace and gets up to fetch her bottle of pills. She pauses at the bedroom door to look at you one more time. Goodbye, John. She closes the door behind her. Look at the letter. You run your thumbs along the edge of the paper. Is this really it? One hug from Rose and you're off to face your destiny? The instructions in this letter are clear, but you aren't sure precisely what to do next. Inertia and indecision keep your feet planted firmly on the carpet. Then, as if directly answering your quandary, your phone buzzes in your pocket. It's a text from Roxy. Read text. It sounds important. You get up to go without even thinking about it. You exit through the sliding glass door and leave it open behind you. Okay. I was gonna say way up here, but I wanted to get done with the page, but it's a little on the nose with the, like, you can't even, they're not even, like, speaking in, like, metaphors or anything. Rose is just straight up like, this is how fiction works, and we are going to participate in a fictional story and the canon, and, like, I wouldn't say it's egregious, but it's a little, like I said, it's a little on the nose. I am curious about John and Roxy's relationship because they liked each other quite a lot toward the end of the story. Oh, right, they started the different kingdoms. There was, like, I think Human Kingdom, Troll Kingdom, Carapace Kingdom, and Consort Kingdom. That's fun. 3. It's a beautiful day in the Carapace Kingdom, just like it was in the Human Kingdom, and just like it was in the Salamander Village. For whatever faults this paradise you created might have, you sure don't hear many complaints about the weather. You're sitting with Roxy and Calliope on a giant chessboard patterned tablecloth. It's a nice touchy thing, but if you spent any time shopping in the Carapace Kingdom, you'd know most things you can buy are chess themed. Friendly Carapacians go about their day around you, passing through the park with their eyes politely averted as they pretend not to notice the three celebrities are having lunch in the grass nearby. It's extra polite of them because you and Roxy are having a very personal conversation. She looks alright, mostly just tired. At least she seemed to have enough energy to babble at length about philosophical gibberish and things about canon and such. I guess she filled you in on all the ultimate self junk then. What? Shit where she starts knowing everything and feeling bad? Oh, that's not the term she used. She just kept describing it as a condition. You haven't been feeling anything like that, right? What, getting to know my ultimate self? Yeah. Man, I've barely got a hold of my basic ass self. Yeah, she said she was the only one going through this that she knew of. Poor Rose. At least I know all the medications seem to be keeping her sort of functional. Roxy gives you a serious, sidelong glance. Remember that whole totally unprovoked spiel Rose gave you about substance abuse? She said it wasn't like that. I mean, she said it was under control. Well, what the fuck do I know? The only illicit substance I've ever done is like that stupid trickster lollipop. Never again. Yeah, whatever. Can't say it's much of my business anymore. Rose and I aren't as close as we used to be. You nod, sort of knowingly, because you're thinking about how you hadn't talked to Rose in ages either. Roxy gives you a quizzical look, but you turn away before she can draw a meaning from it. Miriam's been keeping her real busy since they got hitched. They both vanished down the brooding caverns, and that was pretty much that. Only since she got sick and spent more time at home did we start talking more again. It's been great, but our conversations have been a little bit upsetting. And here comes the thing you were trying to avoid thinking about the moment Roxy texted you about how you haven't talked to Roxy in ages either. You're having such a nice time ignoring that fact, too. Change the subject. So, are you and Callie still living at the same place I saw? The one near the tower? You look towards the bell tower in the distance. It's a Gothic building so tall that it cuts a shadow through the midday sun. It's an important landmark in the kingdom. The tallest structure for miles around, and the only way you can ever navigate your way here flying. Carapace architecture is otherwise identical, a reflection of their functional collectivist society. So okay. Yep. That's cool. It's a nice place. Yeah, I like it here. I've thought about it, but I probably never want to live in a different kingdom. Still feel most at home around the chess guys. It makes sense. That's how I feel about the salamanders. Which I realize actually makes no fucking sense. They lead simple lives. I don't really care for the chaos like human or troll cities. Neither do we. You watch Roxy smile and reach for Calliope's hand. Oh, that's sweet. Look away before you start dwelling on it. You start dwelling on it immediately. Oh no, I just realized that to me. Oh no, John. That is cute though. You start dwelling on it immediately, looking probably quite conspicuous with how quickly you wept your days away. But seriously, what is up with their relationship? Is it romantic, platonic? Can cherubs even have a romantic relationship? Are they even interested in it, like on a fundamental level? Their brains and hearts even work that way? Questions like this used to keep you awake at night. You look at them, at where Roxy's fingers are entwined with Calliope's green claws. Calliope's still wearing the ring of life. The same one you obtained in a ludicrous adventure through the afterlife, and then re-obtained in a ludicrous adventure through canon when it was stolen from you. It's the same one that allowed Calliope to stop being dead in the first place, and to come live with your friends here on your beautifully renovated home planet. And it's the same one you gave Roxy all those years ago to fill a promise made to a very special new friend. At the time, your gesture felt so important. It felt more meaningful than any gift you'd ever given. Like there was some grand emotional gravitas about it that signified something deeper than what it turned out to be. You have since concluded you were just imagining things, ascribing symbolic meaning to gestures that simply didn't carry like the dumb kid you were. Tastefully avoid saying anything at all about Roxy and Calliope's weird, ambiguous relationship. So. But you can't stop thinking about it. What goes on in Roxy's head? What she thinks about you? You and all your friends have dispositions affected by your class and aspects. You think you know what that means in your case, but what about her? You can only speculate. Void is a place where things sink and disappear, where they linger forever but cease to exist. You aren't actually sure if your feelings for Roxy ever really faded or if they just grew numb with time and distance. Is it the same for her? You search your soul for the answer but come up empty. The truth is, you suspect her mental interior is unfathomable. In fact, you're sure of it. You wonder suddenly, watching her. This version of her, that is, one with whom you share all these bittersweet memories. Will you ever see her again? Huh? Watching her, this version of her, that is, the one. Will you ever see her again? What does that mean? I think he's just saying like he misses having that relationship with her. I don't know. John, what? Please forgive me if I come across as impatient, but if we are finished with the pleasantries, I believe you have a choice to make. Huh? The choice as to whether you will go defeat my brother or stay here. Have you decided yet? There's a choice? Calliope is smiling brightly, but Roxy's face has no expression at all. I was just assuming I had to go, because if I don't, then a lot of stuff will stop being real, or, I mean, stop being canon? To tell you the truth, I'm a little confused about what will happen if I don't go, but it sounds like it will probably be bad. That may be so. We are not here to caution you about the consequences of your decision either way, but there is always a choice. Roxy and I merely wish to invite you here for a nice human picnic, and show our support for whichever decision you make. To be honest, it's a relief to finally be doing this. It is? Mm-hmm. How much have you actually talked about this? I mean, how many people knew this was going to be a thing? Just us and Rose. Well, Dirk too, I think. She's been talking to me about it a bunch. And him too, but I don't know how much. He's got, like, thoughts about all this shit. But whatever, that's not important or remotely surprising. Bottom line, Rose has been tormenting herself about having to tell you. I'm just glad she finally said it so she can rest. Now it's up to you. Yes, take all the time you need. Again, we aren't here to influence you. It's very important that the decision comes from your desire to go through with it, one way or another. Any tampering could taint the results. Taint the... Wait, what? So what'll it be, John? A chill runs through you and stays there. Consider the gravitas of this choice. You try, but you can't, because you weren't really prepared for it. You didn't think it was a choice at all until this very second. You think back to the way Rose looked at you before she went to bed. What has she told Roxy that she didn't tell you? The chill tightens around your throat and turns into fear. No, not fear. The feeling is worse than that. It's regret. You've wasted your time here on this idyllic restoration of Earth. Why did you spend so much time alone? Moping around the house, mourning your dead father, who probably would have wanted you to get more enjoyment out of your teen years, as well as your unusually early retirement. There's so much you could have done. Could have even reached out to Roxy again. Maybe she was waiting for you to do that. Maybe your withdrawal hurt her. Maybe she was heartbroken, just like the kind you feel, just like you kind of feel right now. You study her perfectly stoic face and conclude nothing from it. Her expression reminds you of how Dave used to look when he first met for real, before years of living with Carcat softened him up. Impenetrably cool. It's too late to figure any of this out now. You fucked it up already. Unless, of course, you choose to stay. Upon further examination, you realize Roxy's stoicism isn't cold. There's concern there. She's displaying restraint, keeping quiet while you make up your mind. You're sweating, you realize. Cold sweat, even worse than the anime nightmare sweat you woke up soaked in this morning. John, you okay? It looked like you were gonna pass out there for a second. Suddenly, Calliope bolts upright. Of course, what was I thinking? This decision is far too empty to be made on an empty stomach. She fetches the picnic basket, which naturally has been sitting there on the tablecloth since the moment you arrived. Here, before you choose which path you're going to take, you should decide what you'd like to eat. I've packed a wide variety of provisions, easily enough to satisfy even the most ravenous picnic-goer's appetite. Behold an array of savory delights for the carnally inclined, or perhaps something for your sweet tooth, if a lust for treats is what stokes your desire. Calliope produces 2 dishes from the basket and begins gingerly unwrapping them. Oh gee, I wonder what these 2 are. The unwrapping is so ginger, in fact, that there's something almost dramatic about it. Like the opening theme to that boring sci-fi movie, with the monolith and the bone-throwing monkeys should be playing as she peels away the cheesecloth. The one plate is a pile of meat, rare, almost bleeding cuts from animals you can't identify. The other plate holds a generous heap of colorful, exotic-looking candy. You scoot to the side and peek inside the basket to see if there's anything else. There's a book in there, but no more food. This is all there is. Contemplate your lunch. You put a finger to your lips and focus on the food with great intensity. You stop fretting about choices and heartbreak, eternity, and Lord English. Your entire world narrows to a single point of light as you are utterly consumed by the overbearing decision about which of these absurd meals to have for lunch. Meat or candy? Meat or candy? The two possibilities pinball around your skull. Meat or candy? It's a tough choice. On any other day, you might be inclined to simply follow the whims of your cravings, but no clear victor surges to the forefront of your mind. Either option offers a tempting means of sustenance. You know the meat will be rich and filling, and if you're being honest with yourself, you haven't had the most robust diet of late. You didn't even have breakfast. It's probably a good idea to eat something resembling a real meal for once. But you're no stranger to Calliope's taste as far as carnivorous comestibles are concerned. You know every cut on that plate is rare to the core. It'll fill your mouth to bursting with juice, lie heavy on your stomach for hours to come as your body works to break down all the nutritious protein and fat. It might be tough to chew. It might even be tough to swallow. Maybe the candy is a better choice for a picnic like this. Something that'll go down easy and fill you with bright energy as you pass the time with your friends. You know you need to just let go sometimes and stop worrying so much about what other people expect of you, or even what you expect of you. It's not a bad thing to enjoy yourself just for the sake of pleasure, but eat too much candy and all that sweetness can make you sick. Roxy and Calliope glance at each other in confusion as you deliberate over what to eat. You suppose it's taking you a while to choose, but each dish is appealing enough in certain ways. Each has its potential dietary drawbacks. You don't want to make a decision you can't stomach. Meat or candy, John? Meat or candy? You release your breath when you realize you've been holding it. You're being ridiculous. What's the sense over fussing over lunch? In the end, it really doesn't matter. Whatever you choose, it'll all just be flushed down the toilet somehow. Tomorrow. Just go with your gut. Don't sweat the small stuff. There are much more important things out there to fuck yourself up over. Choose. Meat or candy. Okay. So, clearly. Okay. Interesting. So, what this made it seem like this is going to be is, I was saying, oh god, are the epilogues like some kind of like grim dark Homestuck? What this last section here made it seem is probably meat is the grim dark, like super mature, like dark Homestuck fic, and then candy is like the forget about the main plot, this is just like slice of life characters hanging out type fic. Because after all, this is all formatted after a fanfic. And those are two very common tropes, is like either one, removing all the stakes and just kind of letting the characters hang out and bounce off of each other because you like their dynamics. And the other kind is kind of over-analyzing those dynamics and extrapolating like much more theatrically dark conclusions and traits from them than would actually be appropriate for the tone of the story. And like, those are two very popular kinds of fanfics. So I can only assume that that's what either of these are going to give me, respectively. But also, this was it for the prologue, I guess. And then meat and candy are like the other parts of it. We have meat and candy here, which makes me feel like, is that why this isn't technically canon? Because these will just be like John's visions of what these universes may look like? Or I don't know. I'm gonna take a break real quick, and then I guess I'll be back with these.